Okay, so we're diving into a report from Fox News that really captures this incredible moment of hope and change surrounding Venezuela. We're seeing people just pouring into the streets, feeling like this could be a historic turning point they have been waiting on for years.
And this quote? Wow, it just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? The hope of a new start. This isn't just about some abstract political shift. For millions of people, this is incredibly personal. It's this deep, powerful hope that a really long and painful chapter in their lives might finally be coming to an end.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the report focuses on celebrations happening not in Caracas, but in Doral, Florida. Why there? Well, it's home to the largest Venezuelan community in the U.S. This gives us a really powerful window into the emotions of a diaspora that's been forced to watch their home country's crisis from thousands of miles away.
But to really get why everyone's so hopeful, you have to understand just how bad things have been. The report lays out a pretty grim reality that has forced millions and millions of people to leave everything behind.
So yeah, why are they celebrating? I mean, this level of joy we're saying, it's a direct response to years and years of absolute crisis. And to really wrap our heads around the scale of that, we got to look at the numbers.
8 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. This isn't just a statistic on a screen. We're talking about nearly 8 million people who, according to the report, have fled Venezuela since 2013. That has created one of the largest displacement crises in the entire world.
So, where does the report place the blame for this massive exodus? Well, it points the finger squarely at the rule of Nicolás Maduro. A guest on the program described years of oppression and even labeled the country a Narco Center, basically a state run by drug traffickers that was flooding the United States with drugs. This is the reality they say millions were so desperate to escape.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit, because this story isn't just happening in Venezuela. It has deep, deep roots in American politics and foreign policy.
At the very center of this whole thing is a long-running legal battle. The report brings up an indictment against Maduro and his wife that was actually filed way back in 2020. This formal criminal charge is really the legal backdrop for everything that's unfolding right now.
Now, the guest they interviewed in this segment, a former DNC press secretary, for context, drew a really sharp line in the sand between the approaches of different administrations. They painted the Trump administration's approach as one of action and follow-through, while describing the Biden-Harris administration's strategy as, and I'm quoting here, a whole lot of talk, but not follow-through. But then, right after making that pretty sharp critique, the speaker does something interesting. They pivot and call for everyone to come together on this. They make the case that this issue should be bigger from party politics, even pointing out that President Biden himself supported similar actions against narco traffickers back when he was a senator.
Okay, now we're getting into the really big picture stuff, geopolitics. Because, let's be honest, you just can't talk about Venezuela without talking about one thing: oil. And according to this report, it's the main piece on the global chessboard. And here's why. It's not just that Venezuela has some oil. No, they have the single largest known oil reserve on the entire planet. That one fact changes everything, and it's central to why so many other countries are so interested in what happens there. So, the guest in the report kind of sees a counterargument coming, right? The idea that the U.S. is just after the oil, and they tackle that concern head-on by asking a really simple question about who is actually benefiting from all that wealth right now. And their answer is pretty shocking. They claim that if you look at who's actually controlling and profiting from that oil today, it's not the Venezuelan people. And it's not America. Instead, as you can see here, they're pointing to China, Russia, Iran, and even groups like Hezbollah and Hamas.
This leads the speaker to bring up something you might remember from history class, the Monroe Doctrine. I mean, basically, it's this nearly 200-year-old U.S. policy that says foreign powers should stay out of the Western Hemisphere. The call here is to, dust off that doctrine and push these external players out of what they call our backyard.
So, with all that geopolitical and historical context on the table, the report looks ahead. What could this turning point actually mean for the future? Not just for Venezuela, but for the United States, too. Well, the source brings up some potential upsides for the U.S., citing Republican Senator Rick Scott. He paints a picture where a stable Venezuela could mean a new trading partner, maybe even lower energy prices for Americans, and crucially, a chance for so many families to see their loved ones back home finally get to live their dream.
But, and this is a big but, the report doesn't end on a purely optimistic note. It throws in a major dose of realism with this warning. The road ahead is going to be long.
Rebuilding a nation after decades of crisis is a monumental task, and it won't be easy.
And that really brings us to the final, crucial question this report leaves us with. Beyond all the celebrations and the political chess moves, the path forward is incredibly complex. It leaves all of us to think about what it truly takes not just to change a government, but to actually rebuild an entire nation from the ground up.